Good morning, everyone. Let's wait a bit for getting the number increasing. And wait for 1 more minute, Thomas, and then we'll introduce ourselves.
Sounds good.
Think that the numbers are steady now, so maybe we can start. All right. So welcome everyone. So it's our pleasure to welcome you into that description of our MSc in Health Data and Analytics. I'm Mark Shadow-Hyam. I'm a professor in biostatistics and Health Data Analytics, and I'm the director of the course. We also have online Thomas, who will introduce himself.
Hey everyone, I'm Thomas Wright. I am the teaching fellow of the course. I'm also a graduate of the course who liked it so much I stuck around to do my PhD under Mark, and now I'm working with the program as well.
Thanks, Thomas. So what we we are going to do is to we have a few slides to go through to describe the program, the philosophy of the program, and the content of the program. You have at the bottom of the seminar page some Q&A tab where you can pose your questions that will be either answered directly or that will be raised after the presentation, and Thomas will read them out and we'll discuss and answer them live. So with no further ado, I'm just going to start with the description of the program itself. So our program was created 8 years ago, and we had really one objective in mind when we built the program. It was really to get two communities to work together and to make the most of both the data and the methods that we're developing in the world. So we realized that we wanted to extend the use of advanced statistical models, machine learning approaches, and more recently AI algorithm for a rigorous and useful use in health sciences. So that was our primary objective. And the corollary to this was to also enable people with that more methodological and theoretical knowledge to be active participants of the field of health data science. So we wanted to enable that people that had that more of a theoretical background, that they could move successfully to a more applied field, which is very rich, like health sciences. So that's pretty much our really milestone objective, is to make those two communities work together and contribute complementarily to health data analytics. By doing so, our program is hopefully contributing to the definition of a multidisciplinary culture that is needed for a rigorous and impactful analysis of big health data, if you want. So based on these objectives and our mission statement, we defined actually a target audience for our course, which were either strong students with a methodological background willing to move to an applied field on one side, or on the other side, strong students with more of a applied background. So for instance, in medical sciences, in biology, in epidemiology, willing to be a bit more independent and know how to analyze and integrate large and complex data sets. To make this heterogeneous by construction cohort work together, we had to implement in the course a collaborative and cross-fertilizing learning environment, which we will describe in a few moments. And one thing that we is a bit of our motto is that we want to train experts and not nerds. So that sounds like a bit of a joke, but this is actually what we really want to aim at, is to have people that are able to run even sometimes complex models, but not for the sake of running complex models, but just to help understand and extract information from data. So what we want is to have people that have enough knowledge and enough rigor to know exactly which model to use in which circumstances, and to have the most efficient experts possible. There's some nerdiness to have and some technicalities to be acquainted with. So this is what the program is going to expose you to, is to not only technicalities, but also technicalities for a purpose. So that's pretty much the introduction of the program. So as I said, the first iteration of the course was in 2018, where we recruited 17 students, and you can see that since that date, the numbers kept on increasing and increasing. And, the second year is almost double in size of the cohort. In 2021, we had a very large cohort, which was during the COVID year, the online sessions. We had 43 students. Then went back to on-site teaching in 2021 with almost 40 students, a steady number. And then starting in 2023, there's been a real steep increase in the number of applications and in the numbers of offers made for the recruitment of the course. What we were very happy about, well, first of all, as you can see in those very high level summary statistics, is that the selection is quite tough on the course. It's quite a competitive course. And what we also were very happy about across these previous cohorts is that we always been able to recruit the multidisciplinary cohorts that we were aspiring for. So we had people from very different backgrounds each of the years, and that was really a richness of the program and of the teaching experience for our students. So this year is the largest cohort ever. So we received more than 700 applications, of which close to 400 were eligibles, resulting in 96 offers and a total cohort size of 59 students. Some demographics, we've got a vast majority of women in our courses. We had a very large number of countries that were represented from all continents in the world. And again, a large and a very vast diversity of backgrounds in our students, along with a large range of experience. We have students coming straight away from a BSc down to, sorry, professionals who are willing to make a career move. And so we've got a very large range of expertise as well in our students. So again, this year, as in the previous years, we have recruited a multicultural, multidisciplinary cohort. And this is really one of the key strengths of our population of students, is that it's really cross-fertilizing, open discussions, and very efficient, with people upskilling very quickly. Speaking of upskilling, that's the main objective of term one, where this is typically how a week looks like in term one, where you've got 4.5 to 5 days of teaching per week. So you have half to one full day of independent work on the Wednesday, and you have some additional teaching on these days. Now, this term, the first term, is really about building up. So we start the term with students with very heterogeneous backgrounds, and we end the term with students speaking the same language and having worked together on projects. So the core of the term one modules includes the introduction to statistical thinking and data analysis, which is led by Verena Zuber and David Muller, where basically you are introduced to the main statistical concepts for epidemiology. So this module is a bit of a rehearsal or a refresher for the students with more of a methodological background, where it's more novel for students with more of a clinical or biological background. Conversely, there's the principles and methods of EPI, led by Philippos and Amanda, which is again introducing the main methods, design, and concepts that are being used in epidemiology. So this is usually more novel for students with more of a math or quantitative background, and more of a refresher for the students with more of a clinical background. Now, during these two companion modules, the students that already know about it are first acting a bit as mentors for the other students and help within groups. Um, so there's a bit of a community building there, but also we present these modules and these concepts in such a way, in an original way, so that helps even people knowing about the concepts and so on to see it in a different way and in a more applied context. So these are the two, if you want, building up modules to make sure that everyone speaks the same language. Then there is a module on clinical data management that Thomas leads with Lucas, which is really on the construction, query, maintenance, and security of databases, with an emphasis on the legal and the security aspects that are extremely important when you're dealing with health data. Then you have a module on molecular epi, led by Professor Abbas Degen, which is really about introducing molecular data, so different types of omics data, how they're relevant for health sciences. And that is a bit of an introduction to term two, where we are going to see methods to analyze this data in depth. And then there's the first part of translational data science module, which is led by Sabrina Rodriguez and Verena Zuba, where in that first half of the modules, you will be introduced to how to conduct rigorous, transparent, and reproducible research. So that's how to store your data, how to document your code, how to make sure that every single result you're producing could be reproduced exactly. This kind of a really important quality constraints when you want to do rigorous science. Then you enter the term two modules, which is more the specialty modules. Well, you can see in the schedule that is you've got one full day free for independent, sorry, teaching, and so you've got four main modules in the during the week. So you've got Bayesian reasoning for spatial temporal data. So that's a full module during the 10 weeks. Then you have a second module on machine learning. Then on Wednesday you have some seminars and or independent study time. On Thursdays you've got computational epi, which is we're going to discuss that in a minute. And then you've got on the Friday the second half of the translational data science, which is more relating to research project. So we have those four core modules in term two, where Bayesian analytics, the idea is really to introduce you to Bayesian modeling. So for time series, for hierarchical, spatial temporal, and disease modeling. So that's really how to use hierarchical models and Bayesian versions and Bayesian implementations to model heterogeneity in your data. Then you have a second module, and that module is led by Professor Marta Bianjardo and Monica Pireni. Then you have another module on machine learning led by Dragana Vukovic, where you will be introduced to main machine learning methods and implementations with a focus on the algorithmics of it, the implementation, and the interpretation of the results. Then you have computational epidemiology led by myself, which is equivalent to machine learning, focusing more on statistical models for analyzing large-scale data. And finally, you have the second part of translational data science, where here, every other week, you will be using the methods that you've learned in those three main modules to analyze a real question from a real data set, and you will put in practice the models that you just learned to address some real research questions in TDS. That module will take you from getting the data down to writing a paper in 10 weeks. So across the different modules and across the program, there's a lot of project work. So you've got project that stems within each of the modules. So usually either a small data sets, toy example data, simulated data sets are given to you so that you can analyze this data using and illustrate some methods you've just learned. So that's within a module, you have some practical sessions, and you can work in those nano projects if you want to get exposure to the methodological concept you just learned. You have the translational research project, which we've discussed about. So it's a real data set you're given in term two with a real research question. You work in group on this to address this question, starting from getting the data, storing the data, cleaning the data, to generating your research question, to defining an analytical plan, implementing it, revising it, and writing it up. That's pretty much what you're going to do in translational. And that's a very good practice to prepare you for your individual research project, which will start in term three, where you will be given again real data set with unexplored questions, supervised by your the experts and the people that are giving you access to the data, and you will be asked to answer, pretty much leveraging all the methods and know-hows that you've learned in the first two terms of the course to address that research question in collaboration with your supervisors. So again, types of projects, you've got the module specific projects, which are usually assessed in groups. So there's one in computational IP, there's one in TDS, there's one in machine learning. You're given a data set and some projects, and you work in groups. And then you've got the research project itself, the term three research project, which is individual. This year, for instance, we have more than 70. We've got more than 120 this year, I think. Research project. We have a portfolio for you to pick in. These all are real and unexplored data sets, and they all aim at addressing a real research question that has not been addressed yet, and you are supervised by international experts in the field. These are just example, but I mean it's infinite types of so these are just examples of a project that were popular in the past years. So of course there was a lot of projects on COVID-19 risk and severity, on molecular phenotyping of several conditions like cancer, asthma, cardiovascular disease. There were other projects more on population health, on exposure modeling, and so on and so forth. Also, of course, some projects on disease modeling, outbreak modeling of infectious diseases, some more machine learning specific algorithms on image processing, encoder and simulation and digital twins kind of stuff, predictive model. Well, a very, very large range of subjects. There was also some projects that were in collaboration with industry. So we had banks, we had the big farmers, we had some small biotechs, some startups, some banks, a lot of diversity of collaborations, and importantly as well, there's a lot of projects that are initiated by the students themselves. So pretty much depending on the students, some came on day one with an idea of what they wanted to look at, what they wanted to work on during their research project. So either they came with even people they wanted to work with, or they just asked us for advice, and so we built together a project. The only thing is that when you do this, you come up with some ideas of people you want to work on with or stuff that you want to work on. We make sure that the project ticks all the boxes in terms of learning outcomes, that you have the appropriate supervision. So sometimes we accompany the someone from the team of from the school is joining the supervision team, and we just get it up and running. Yeah, just a few other points. So there are some optional teaching sessions, especially in term one. On, for instance, we have a very popular series on linear algebra to get everyone a bit up to speed on matrix diagonalization, this kind of stuff. We have one on cellular and molecular biology, and we have some introduction to Python programming. Uh, there are a lot of seminars that you have access to. So I'm listing some here on Bayesian modeling, but this is one example of many. You've got access to the school sets of seminars, which are usually a good opportunity for you to understand how in real life what you're just learning during the course is applicable and useful for research on a daily basis. That's also an important opportunity for you to get and meet experts in the field that are usually difficult to grasp. So that's usually a nice networking opportunity, and that can help some students to explore future potential for future collaboration. That's it for the overview of the course. So now we can, I think, go through the questions. I'm going to stop sharing my.
All right. Well, fabulous presentation, Mark. So we have a few questions that are very related to one another. And so we have one attendee who says that they're a postgraduate from genetics with no knowledge of computer science. They're working as a data analyst junior in a company, and they want to know if it'd be helpful for them to progress in their data career. And do you think they'd be able to do this course with no knowledge in computer science?
Absolutely, yes. That's really part of our mission is to make sure that people with your profile can become proficient in analyzing the data they know so much about.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off this, because this is the same theme that's in the next two questions that I will also detail. The whole point of the program is that there is no entry requirements. You don't have to have taken a class in linear algebra. You don't need to have a geneticist's background, because as Mark said, in that first term, we're leveling everybody up. And once you've gone through that, you can then move on to the advanced analytics part. And so each year we have people who have never, when I took the program, I hadn't taken a science class in 15 years. It went very well. I had a friend who was a 22-year-old who had just graduated with a biology degree and had never coded before. She did really well. And so no matter what your background is, you'll do well in the program if you're a very motivated and driven student. Um, uh, and so then the next question is from Musa. And so Musa says, and sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, Musa says that they're from Saudi Arabia and they have a pure clinical background where they work as a respiratory therapist, but they have a lot of interest in data since COVID-19. And they've taken a data analytics course. But they do not have any experience with STA, digital health intervention, or our language. They've been hesitant to apply for the program, but they want to know if we think it'd be a right time for them to apply.
I think yeah, well, the answer is yes, and the and even if the course is self-explanatory and self-contained if you want, so we teach you everything you need to know to succeed. So there's no prerequisite, and but we've noticed that some students wanted to prep so during the summer, so there are some resources that we can share if you're giving a seat to the course, so they can kind of, if you want, ventilate a bit the effort or the investment in getting up to speed into coding and so on, so they can start prepping during the summer. But yeah, so the short answer is yes, that will help you, and don't be shy. The only characteristic that we're accounting for when we're offering a seat in the course is first the excellence. So you need to have an excellent background, whatever it is, and you need to make a very convincing case that doing HDA is going to be useful for your future career and what your aspirations are.
Nice. And then the last of this trio of questions, we have another person whose background is only computer science, but they've spent some of their career as a health data analyst, and they were wondering if they are eligible.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
of course, again, yes. And so this shows that different people from different backgrounds are all welcome. And it's because you are all have, Mark, as Mark said, a history of excellence that you will draw on, and we will level you up, and then you'll be able to go on and uh, become an expert in this big data analytics of healthcare data. Um, okay, both of those questions had a career component to them as well. So one asked if this degree would help them advance as a data analyst, and another question asked kind of what is the career path from this program.
So you have people just graduating and going into large, small, or medium companies and become a data analyst. So that's a very easy one. We have a lot of students continuing a bit more in academia, even students that didn't want to hear about a PhD. Quite a few of them got converted during the course and ended up doing a PhD. And then we have a lot of yeah, again, big companies, small companies, health data science, in all the fields ranging from pharma, NGOs, banks, very wide spread of industries.
Yeah, and so one of the key components of this course is that you learn a very translatable skill set. You learn how to do advanced analytics on big data. But as Mark said, you don't become a nerd. You become an expert who's able to convey very complex ideas to a lay audience. This skill set will make you in demand in a multitude of industries. So we have people who go on to apply advanced analytical methods in finance, which seems completely out of touch with what we're doing. We have people going on to work in healthcare, to be consultants, analysts. And so there is not just one career path or just a few that you could go down. There are more common ones and less common ones. But again, you're learning a very broad, transferable skill set that's in incredibly high demand at the moment. And so it's on you to line up your interests with that skill set, and that's what you do in the third term. You pick a project that really speaks to your interests and use the skills that you like, and then you have an incredibly unique, powerful, novel capstone project to impress people within your interviews. Okay, so moving on to the next question. Um, how can we find some current cohort students to ask them about their experiences and feedback?
There is an alumni on LinkedIn, and I think Thomas, there's a lot of do we not have ambassadors to talk to, or there's a few websites where there's because I again I'm the last person to be asked. I know about the alumni, and this has been set up, and I also know that former students, which is something I forgot to mention, is that a lot of the former students are still in the group as PhD students, as TAs, as both PhD students and research fellows. So we have our community, and they tell me regularly that they got asked on the web about the course and so on. So there are apparently some find an MSc kind of websites where you've got impressions and you can contact former students. But the first route would probably be on the alumni.
And so you can look on LinkedIn and you can search for the degree. Mark is very correct that we have a very healthy group still working with him. But in terms of the total number of people who have come through the program, it's only 5, 10 then 5% of the people are still working with Mark, which is a good number, but it means that we are not all sticking around in academia. There's lots and lots of opportunities for you. But I would go into LinkedIn and I would look for people who have the program listed in their bio, and then reach out to them. Several students did that this year to get some feedback from students. And something we do in the program during the term is we run several mentorship meetings where we invite people who have graduated the program to come back and impart some guidance on you and take some of your questions at different key moments in the course. Whether it's around how to, make the best out of the program or how to get advice on a PhD or a career. And so you will have this pathway to previous students when you join the course. And for now, please check out LinkedIn. Okay, so Anna asks, I have a background in AI, and I would like to ask if there's a possibility to take some electives Also from computing department to enhance their knowledge about algorithms. So can they take classes from the computing department outside of our department?
It's a tricky one because our course is quite intense. So there are some exceptions where you can audit some of the courses, but that's to be treated on a exception basis and a case by case basis.
Mhm.
But there are some seminars you can still
So
do.
it's not. Hmm.
You won't have if the question is can I get a fifth module? I don't think time allows for that.
Yeah, so you would not be able to take a class from any other department without a very good reason. And so in our term three, sometimes students want to do projects that are related to what we do, but they haven't taken a class that is 100% exactly in that expertise. For example, we do not do HIV disease modeling, but a student is interested in a project this year doing it. So we are discussing whether they can audit a class during the term three to prepare them for this research project. And so if you were doing a research project on AI and could justify why this class would enable you to complete your project, then we could have a discussion about it. But it would not be able to just be a class just for kind of interest's sake. Um,
But I think it's a right timing to say, Thomas, that this is a quite demanding course, as
yes.
you may have seen, and it's quite packed. So although we would love to offer as much flexibility as possible to everyone, there's only a limited number of things that you can do in in one day, and that's it. We are already quite packed in the course, so yeah.
It's a very doable program, but it's a very demanding program. It is not one that you can do while working full time or taking a bunch of other courses. It should be the primary focus of what you're doing, so you can really make the most out of it. Okay, next question. I'm a data science undergraduate student. Do you recommend I try to gain work experience first before applying to this degree?
No, you can come directly.
Yep, each year we have many successful students coming directly from undergraduate. Okay, so for our next question, what makes an application stand out?
Well, I think we touched upon that. I think first thing first is the excellence of the background and the good marks, good fantastic background, and so on and so forth. Fine, that's the normal one, and then really that you didn't pick the HDA by chance, and that it really resonates with what you've done and where you want to go. So as long as you, and that's irrespective of your background, as long as it's excellent and that it means something for you to be at HDA, then you will be considered.
Hmm. And so again, a kind of common theme of what Mark's answers are is there is no one prototype that we're looking for. And so you could have an excellent academic record, and that could be your form of excellence. You could have struggled a bit in your academics, but gone on to land a career that's really or ignited your academic passion. And so you've done excellent there, and so now you want to be an HDA. Um, a big thing that you should try to do for your application and in any application is work on your narrative. What is your story? How do we fit into it? Where are you? Where do you want to go? And how could we help you get there? That's a very powerful message. Okay, moving on. Hi, thank you for your presentation. Slightly different from other questions, I've studied human sciences at UCL, where I got to choose modules within life sciences, and being interested in both population health and data/statistics, I took a mix of modules over my degree. I would like to further bridge my knowledge in this area. I wouldn't say I have excellent, super strong knowledge in one area in particular, but have a rather good level of understanding in both. Would I be a suitable candidate?
Absolutely. I think you're gonna, yeah, yeah. Again, you're right on spot, and you're part of the target, and you'll get some deeper knowledge on these fields during the course. So absolutely.
Yep. And again, that we do not look for one prototype. And so if you feel you have excellence and a great reason to apply, please do, and we'd love to consider you. Okay. Taha says, I work as a pharmacist in the UK and interested in the program. They'd like to do a PhD, combining data science and machine learning to solve issues in healthcare. So they want to know if some students have gone on to do the PhD and further study. And I've been learning on their own for data science and online. Um, and yeah, and so they're also interested in finding out what you look for in an ideal candidate. So two-parter, do people go on to PhDs?
Yes, quite a
Yes,
few of them, yes.
yes.
And including Thomas, yes. And yeah. And so the rest I think we've discussed, right? The ideal candidate.
Yeah, exactly. And so we do have people sticking around at Imperial to do a PhDs, but we have people going all over the globe as well. And so we have people going to Stanford, Harvard, Yale, MIT, like all Oxford, Cambridge, anywhere you can kind of think of, people can end up. Okay, just wondering as well if there's any teaching on the use of data science and machine learning for bioinformatics in areas such as drug design and genetics.
Genetics, yes. Drug design, not so much. We're not doing much clinical research.
Yeah. But again, transferable skills.
Yeah, yeah.
And so some students did a novel project last year looking at trying to figure out what
But
creates.
I think it's about the teaching. I mean, the project. You're right, Thomas. The projects, yes. There's plenty of well, definitely all the projects in GSK, AZ, and the smaller pharma were along these lines. But the teaching itself is more about the methods in a simpler context and more observational. But yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so after this course, is it possible to work later as a researcher in drug development field or personal drug treatment?
Yes.
Yeah. Omics data are what we work with in the course. It's all right to not know what that is, and it's a huge thing that pharmaceutical data works with as well. It's big data, it's complex data, it's what we teach, and it's what you can use there. Um, how can I get the best out of the program?
Well, I think it's too, which is something that is improving now. But with the COVID years, we had some issues with attendance, which was a bit of a, which was actually a waste because we've got a very nice cohort of students, we've got a nice bunch of teachers, and by not being on site, by not engaging in the face-to-face interactions, you losing a lot of the value of the course. So the first thing is to come and to enjoy it. So that's the first way to make the most of the program. And the second is to, yeah, use all the optional resources, use the fantastic collaborative network that you will be given access to, and become an Imperial member quickly. That's probably the best thing you could do to make the most of your year and create a cohort spirit, yeah, an identity for yourselves in the cohort.
Mm. Yeah, being present and focused and making it your priority. As Marcus stressed, there's people from all these different backgrounds there. That's people you can draw knowledge from and network with. And the more you're plugged into the program, the better you'll do. As a follow-up, how intense is the course? How many hours a week do we spend on the course per week?
Okay, so it is intense, especially term two. It's a lot of work. You've seen, so typically a teaching day is 2 to 3 hours lectures in the morning and a break, and then sometimes 1 hour seminar during lunchtime, and then 3 to 4 hours practicals in the afternoon. Sometimes it's shorter, sometimes not. Well, it's never longer. Sometimes it's a bit shorter. But that's pretty much a typical day. And you've got 3 to 4 of these days per week. So that's quite intense. And on top of this, you have, as you've seen, quite a bit of project work to be conducting. There's a bit of revision. There's a bit of exercises to be made. So that's quite intense. And you are, as we were saying, it's very difficult to accommodate. Well, it's a full-time program, pretty much. So yeah.
Yeah, so again, should be your prime commitment. It's an all day long thing, and then you'll have to do some studying at night as well. It's not a part-time program or a program that you can easily juggle with other things. Okay, in the term three project involving predictive modeling, can we predict cardiovascular disease?
Yes, you can. There's been quite a few of them on this, one of which became a paper.
Oh,
So
very cool.
absolutely. And this is one of a. I didn't want to mention it. So there's plenty of groups involved. So not only my group, but there's a quite a large range of groups that contribute to the teaching. But my group, we're very focused on CVD prediction, looking at the effect of the environment on CVD, cancer, and chronic conditions, along with risk of COVID. So this is stuff that we definitely cover internally, and you're gonna have a lot of examples on.
Um, Okay, so the next is another question of a similar vein. We have a person whose background is in sports science with a master's in chronic disease management. They'd like to move into data science. Would they be eligible?
Yes, we'll answer that. Yeah,
Yeah,
just
again,
yeah, excellence and making sure we're useful for you.
exactly. Um, and then we have two questions that are very similar to one another. And so we've actually touched on this, but we should touch on it again explicitly. So these people had struggled during their undergraduate program. However, since they've earned multiple credentials in different aspects of their specialty, including project management and insurance. Um, or another student has worked in behavioral health with clinical data. And so these are two people who have struggled to have like an excellent track record of undergraduate performance, but have things to point to since they've graduated to show their growth and what they care about. Is that a good application?
It is. The only thing that you have to make sure that your professional qualifications and your added value and what you gain during your professional life is clear and well put forward in your letter.
Mm.
So you don't, we definitely account for this, and professional expertise, exposure, and so on is part of the selection. But you need to point it to us very clearly so that we make sure that we know where to look at.
Mm. Yeah. So please explain to us what your excellence is and what your passion is and how we can help you get there. Because that's honestly what we care about as educators is finding passionate people and helping them achieve their goals. And so if you can explain that that's you, it's really going to help. Okay, next question. Can you work part-time alongside this degree?
So I think we've answered that. So legally, you're entitled to work up to a certain number of hours a week. We strongly do not encourage you to do it. Sometimes there's no choice, and some students have succeeded to do it, but that's at the cost of a lot of burden. So if you can avoid. And in any case, you won't be able to work more than 20 hours a week or something, I think is the limit.
Yes, if you're on a visa, you have a visa limit of 20 hours a week. But again, we recommend this is your full-time commitment.
But I think it's independent of the visa, Thomas. I think it's
Oh,
just
okay.
it's when you enroll. But
Oh,
anyway, there's the visa implications for overseas students. But
sure.
and 20 hours is already a lot. So if you can avoid.
Yeah. Um, I can say from my cohort, there were people who did work part-time jobs and they did not enjoy the program as much, do as well, or get as much out of it. But sometimes you have to, and we completely, understand, but recommend not to. Okay, is there an option to create a company as a final project?
Company, no, but a model on which you could base a company, provided that the model, the data, and so on are available and of value, why not? But the building it as a company, it's going to be your task after the after the course. What
Yeah.
you can build during the project, and again, provided that the research project is okay in terms of learning objective and so on, is to build the scientific evidence for the validity of your company.
Mm. And I did have a classmate in my year who built a company with a digital health app after graduation, based on the summer project that they had done. Um, okay. Do I have open hours to come and ask if I have any questions when I face any obstacle?
You don't have per se open hours, but you have an army of very diligent and very dedicated people in the team, including Thomas, that and myself, but Thomas primarily, who are very, very accessible and very with whom you can share any issues you may have. So there's a lot of support throughout Imperial. So like, and in the course specifically, we're very close to our students, and so there's usually no problem in interacting. So yes, you will get a lot of support.
Yes, and on top of that, each course has a Blackboard page where you can post your discussion questions, monitored regularly, so you can get help on that. You have access to a senior tutor whose name is Jenny Husbands, who's lovely. And so she's there for any pastoral care you may need. And we have your disability services and counseling and the like. Um, okay, if you're struggling with the course in areas such as mathematics, what help do we provide? Sorry, just grabbing my charger.
So first of all, the courses themselves should have everything you need not to struggle. So if you still struggle with the optional teaching and so on, there's some discussion with the TAs, with the module teachers, so that you're not left behind. So there's optional additional teaching materials that you're gonna get access to. It has never been the case in the 8 years of life of the program that someone was left behind with something he or she didn't understand.
Yeah, and to reiterate Mark's point of we don't make nerds, we make, scientists. That means that we approach the material from multiple ways. And so if you don't understand the mathematics behind something, you will probably understand the conceptual application. And so we make sure that you're able to understand what you're doing, why you would do it, and are able to actually perform it in your practical sessions. And we do have extra help in our like seminar series. The big difference between undergraduates often though is we do not have a tutoring center where you can drop in after hours to get help explicitly on math or on coursework or on something like that. Okay, if we want to do some project by ourselves in preparation, do you have any recommendations of where to find relevant data sets and practice research questions, whether that is a certain website, textbook, online courses?
I think the building of your project is really about the question. So think about your question first. The data and so on will help you with.
Mm. And
It's
if you
really about the topic, the questions that you're interested in, and then if it fits, which is usually the case, the course, then we can help with the supervisory team and with the data themselves.
Mm. And just in case this question was, you want to prepare for the program, and so before you get here, you want to do some projects to sharpen your skills. As Mark mentioned earlier, we make some introductory preparatory material available to you that you can follow as a recommendation. Okay, in the personal statement, career goals section, do we need to be clear on what career? What if this section is vague and we're not sure at this point?
That's fine, as long as you explain why you think HDA is important. And it could be just for personal and for just well in line with your interest and so on. I mean, we don't expect you to know exactly what career you want to do. We just want to make sure that it's going to be an important and interesting investment for you to spend that year with us. That's what needs to transpire
Mm.
in your letter.
Yeah. We just want to know why you want HCA specifically. And so some of you that might be for a career, others it might be for a skill set. And so that's what you need to impart to us. And then I believe for the last question, at the university where I did my bachelor's degree, I felt that the career support wasn't very strong. Does this course have some time/resources dedicated to finding jobs?
Yes, there's some career session first week, term one, term two. You're gonna organize one very shortly, Thomas, I think for this year. So yeah, there's plenty of this. Then we have the alumni community. We've got some events so that you get to meet the former students, and so you grow your network. So there's plenty of opportunities for you to grow your network for future employability. Absolutely. This is well, that's part of our job, right? Not only we want you to be experts, but we also want you to be employable, right?
Mm.
In good positions. So that's part of our job to make sure that you are not isolated.
Yeah, and so Imperial has a career service center, which is really good, and you have access to it for 3 years after you graduate. They can help you at the planning stage figure out what you want to do. They can help with resumes, all of that type of stuff, practice interviews, and the like. The department that we're in, so coming down a bit, does career chats. And so it's a student-led panel where the panel comes up with the idea of what type of field they're interested in, and they invite people to come in and explain how they got there, what they like about it, and have a kind of informal chat to really help you understand not only what they do, but that maybe the pressure you put upon yourself to have a strictly linear path is not realistic and not something to worry about. And then within the program, we have one of those mentorship meetings where you can speak to people from the program who have graduated and gotten jobs, so you can get that direct help from someone who's the most similar to you. We have a career day in term three where we invite companies in to speak to you and only you about your relevant skill set. And in clinical data management, we also introduce, because it's more focused on skills that are applicable for industry a lot of the times. And so we draw parallels to the jobs that are available leveraging those skills. Okay, one final question. Sorry if it's random. Um, okay. I am interested in doing a PhD in mental health and the use of psychedelic drugs to treat conditions. Machine learning would be applied to analyze brain scans. Will this course allow me to enter a PhD in this field?
Well, this course will give you some techniques and knowledge and expertise to perform that research that will make you very attractive for a future PhD, but that will not open you, grant you a seat in a PhD program. You have to apply for a PhD program, but you'll be in a very good position with that degree to be awarded a PhD studentship in, as we said, in the top universities in the world,
Yeah.
including Imperial.
Yeah. And so with brain scans and analyzing them, we teach you guys the neural networks for both image recognition and segmentation, as well as AI for healthcare, which could be applied to it as well. And so you will be learning advanced analytical methods that could be very relevant to this field that you're interested in. And there's a professor, I'm forgetting his name off the top of my head, at Imperial, who this is his research expertise. And so doing the HDA, doing very well and applying to that would serve you in good standing. Um, okay. Well, that brings us to the end of our questions. Um, oh, sorry, one last open. Oh, sorry, that one has been answered. So yes, we are at the end of all of our questions now. Is there anything last notes you'd like to say, Mark?
No, I would just thank you for your attention and looking forward to seeing your applications. Oh, one thing maybe, as you know, it's quite competitive and it's getting filled quite quickly. So if you want to apply, the sooner the better. Because after a certain point, we can't guarantee a seat, even if you have an outstanding application.
All right. Sorry, I'm just scanning the Q&A one last time. All right, so that is everything. As Mark said, we look forward to reading your applications and your strong statements of how HGA could be important to you. Thank you everyone for your time, and
Goodbye.
yeah, have a lovely day.